now for my final guest this evening. Elton John describes him as the greatest songwriter on the planet, and he knows what he's talking about. Will you please welcome the wonderful Rufus Wainwright performing Grey Gardens.
Wrestle your mother simply over Tatio over you. But beware, my heart can be a pin, a sharp silver dragonfly, trying to get my mansion's green after I've grey gardens between tonight and my tomorrows. Tatio, where have you been? In between tonight, I know it's Tajo. Tatio, don't you fight? Honey, can you hear me? In between, been dragging a dragonfly, trying to get my mansion's green after I've grey gardens seen. Honey, won't you hold me tight? Get me through grey gardens tonight.
Rufus, come and join me. Rufus Wainwright. Rufus Wainwright. That's a tough one for me to pronounce. Fabulous. Rufus Wainwright, ladies and gentlemen. Sit down, Rufus. Great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. It's fabulous to have you here.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Well, you know, people like me, I've become a huge fan of your work over the last few years since I discovered you. I know you've been around for longer.
Took you a while.
Took me a while.
But you came around.
But like most of your fans, that's what I associate with, a kind of a very lush, quite sensual, very lyrical pop music. Or
Yes,
pop music.
yes.
But you've just written something completely different, in a completely different oeuvre.
Yes, yes. I just completed an opera, which is premiering at the Manchester Festival. It's called Prima Donna. And it has nothing to do with me whatsoever. That's a joke. Yeah, and it's a real opera. It's got a 70-piece orchestra and 4 amazing singers.
Now, this isn't something you weren't set a challenge. This is something you've always loved.
Yeah, I know. I've been a huge opera fanatic since the age of 14. When one day I was, you know, girls just want to have fun-ing it. And then the next day I was Verdi's Requiem. You know, I was, you know, killing myself in the...
So you just fell in love with... what was it about opera that you liked?
Well, actually, it started with a mass. It started with Verdi's Requiem, Verdi, of course, is a great opera composer. And I kind of consider that the death of my lonely childhood into the, you know, my depressing teenage years. But it started with Verdi, and then that, you know, Tosca, which is by Puccini, was a big one, and Verdi's Don Carlos, which was big. And
so you really immersed yourself in this.
Yeah, no, I was sort of kidnapped, actually.
And this, by the way, opens in Manchester tonight. It's for a limited run because this is part of the big.
It's for 5 nights, and then it's going to come to Sadler's Wells in the spring. Right. And then, you know, by then, you know, there'll be, you know, parades surrounding my arrival, laurels placed on my head, busts everywhere.
You've got to do something about this low self-esteem.
Sorry.
Let me ask you about living and working in Yorkshire, because you moved there to write this piece.
Yes.
Now, even though that's where it's debuting, you didn't have to be there to write it, I guess. Why did you make that choice? Why did you make that move?
I like sheep. Pretty much. I had the choice of either living in Leeds or Manchester because we worked in both of those cities, and I have to say, unfortunately, what I really like are rough young men with no teeth who get drunk and run after you on the street. So I decided to stay away from that and move to the country where I can at least, you know...
These would be Verdi fans you're talking about.
Yeah.
Death to Puccini!
So I kind of stayed away from Manchester. But no, I need a little bit of country in my life right now because I'm getting old.
Well, let me ask you about, because you were, for many years, is party animal a phrase that would be apt to use? You had a kind of a pretty kind of druggy period, a pretty wild party period.
Yeah, no, I was out there.
how did that come about in your life? What need did that fulfill, and how did you break yourself away from that?
Well, I never. Well, there's a great quote by Judy Garland where she says, "Nobody ever asked me. I didn't know the answers because nobody ever asked me." I was on my mother's stage, or my father's stage, and nobody ever. So it was kind of that situation with me, because I just grew up in a family where there was a lot of artistic people around, and a lot of parties, and very wholesome things, like my mother forgot me at a party when I was a baby and left me on the bed. But anyways, and things like that, fun family events. And then I just sort of kept going, and it led, you know, to, and then of course once you enter into the rock and roll world, you know, you're kind of expected to be pretty fabulous.
And I guess those kind of things are they're easily available.
Yeah,
it's easy to find those.
And so I, you know, took that taxi and ran with it, and
presumably you had a good time while it was going on.
I had a wonderful time, a wonderful time, and I wouldn't switch it for anything. But eventually, and I do credit opera a lot with this. I just realized that, you know, if I want to write a great opera, if I really want to be able to do all the orchestrations and get into the story and dedicate my life to it, I can't be dating the toothless guy from Manchester.
So there was a moment when you thought, okay, was there a key point where you thought, okay, this is it, you know, I've lost the plot, I've gone too far down this road of excess. Was there a particular event?
Oh yeah, I mean, I just went on this long binge once, and well, it's actually kind of this is a very funny and dirty story. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, please.
All right. I was at this orgy, and
hang on. Darling, I might be home a little late this evening.
And there was a lot of very bad stuff going on. And it was kind of a 70s scenario. And I just immediately realized at one point, I just realized that it wasn't me. This isn't really me. You know, I kind of had these leather pants that I'd like cut the bottom out of, and you know, but I just wasn't, you know, really.
For access.
Yeah, there you go. And access. And it. Little. Anyway, so I did, and I just realized that it wasn't me, and I said, I'm going to leave. I'm getting up, and I very dramatically announced to the orgy that I'm going back to society, and I am no longer, you know, a member
I'm not going to wear these trousers with the bum cut out.
I want to live, you know. And I went out, and then I got about a block away, and I realized I had forgotten my wallet there.
So you had to go back.
I had to go back. Be like, I'm sorry, I forgot my wallet. And then that was so pathetic. I was like, I just got to stay away from this whole scene. It was really.
I was going to ask you where you found the wallet, but I don't think I should, because I don't want to know where you parked it.